You're watching Lansdowne Live, your home for Irish football news and nostalgia. And on tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about Andrew Bomadelli finally makes his Nottingham Forest debut. New Ireland manager set to be announced in 2 weeks. Chemical Ban acting as 007. Worrying Hughton in the AFCON. Plus, we see how our boys in green got on across the water. All of that and more coming up on tonight's Lansdowne Roar Live. Well, you are very welcome this Sunday night. Sorry for the slight delay. I do take responsibility for that. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast and Nick Menzies. And of course, this is Lansdowne Roar Live. And we are Irish football's most interactive podcast. So we give you an opportunity to have your say. Keep it classy, folks. Maybe not too classy. Anyway, of course, you can join us on YouTube live, or you can go over to our website, greenmachinepodcast.com, and you can listen to an audio version of this if that's your thing. And of course, you can watch us live on Facebook, both Facebook channels, and that is Lansdowne Road and Lansdowne Roar. Right, let's get into it. We have a cracking episode for you tonight. We're all back, finally, chaps. Nick, you've got your pixelated background. Martin, your wife still hasn't found your man cave. I can see. How are you doing? How was your week?
Yes, good. Yeah, enjoying AFCON actually. Really enjoying it. Trying to watch a bit of it. Breen, who Breen, who is a former member of the podcast. He's doing a lot of work in it, so I'm getting great updates off. And random fact, lads. Random fact of the day. My father was actually born in Tanzania, and they nearly got their first ever AFCON win today, but they conceded a last minute equaliser to I can't remember his first name, but Daka, who plays for Leicester against Zambia. So I was watching that and really enjoying it. So yeah, enjoying the AFCON, and obviously a bit of Irish interest with Pico Lopez and the soon not to be Ireland manager Chris Hughton.
Well, that's what we're to believe. The international podcast. We didn't know that. Martin, how are you? Are you all right? You good? You look. What are you wearing there?
I'm wearing my Enfield Town top today. Yeah, I was supporting a bit of non-league over the weekend. Actually, went to Enfield Town yesterday, playing against #United. So yeah, we must tag them in our episode. And very nice to go out there and see that Enfield threw away a 3-1 lead. There's actually a good little video. I will get up there. Actually, it's a fantastic goal by Lewis Taff and a free kick, and then you see him run off a celebration. And the video that was taken from the crowd. You see me and Keane at the side of the pitch going a bit mental. Very insightful, actually. I watched the game standing next to the dugout of Enfield Town. So it was really good. And I've been on some coaching courses recently over here in England. And so it's quite good to get that kind of thing on it. I'm amazed, actually, to start the show here. Nick has just told us he qualifies for another nation. And we've not made any fuss about that at all.
No, we haven't. It's
more national. Like Robbie Keane used to be, wasn't it? Robbie Keane had more clubs than Tiger Woods. Nick has more countries than anything.
I've naturally I qualify for Ireland because I grew up here. My mum is Irish. I was born in London. My parents were both working there, so I qualified for England. My dad was born in Tanzania to Portuguese parents, so I qualified for Tanzania and Portugal. So I qualified for 4 countries, lads, and not one of them has called me up yet. I mean, must have a word with my agent.
There you go. I mean, it's kind of funny, actually. I can play for Ireland and England. No chance of ever playing for either.
You do have a name, but you do have a namesake playing for Ireland at the moment. Didn't you remember?
I do, yes. Yes, he did. Little young David Dunn. Well done. There's actually lots of David Dunns out there. Yeah. Ones with the E at the end, none of that Anglo nonsense.
Martin, are you England and Greece, is it?
No, there's no Greek in me.
No Greek. No. That's just his dealings, not his nationality.
No.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Irish, French, probably as well down the line.
Put on the gas.
Sometime.
Well, I tell you what, I've seen you in France, Martin, and I don't think you got any French.
No. I hate the French. So,
but by what I saw, they don't like you either.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's get into it. We got a couple of comments coming in there. As always, guys, if there's anything you want to talk to us about, you want to ask us questions, and you think actually we're going to try and start doing, we're going to get an email address for you, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. Of course, we are the voice of the fans, and we want to hear your stories about Ireland. Anything, your favorite game, your first experience, football, that is. Keep it clean. Anything like that, send us a direct message either on Lansdowne Road, Facebook, Twitter, if you want, or Lansdowne Roar, Twitter, or whatever. And yeah, just tell us. And we want to start reading these stories out. We want to get to know you guys a little bit more because, you know, you do make the pod. Well, actually, I make the podcast, but you help. I don't know what the other two do, but they just sit there every week. But yeah, anyway.
Well, apparently, Dave is much better without you.
There was actually a comment. We're not going to put it up. There was.
We have people that have their say, and when they have their say, they say without you because apparently you keep trying to be funny. I mean, I don't find you funny. Funny looking, maybe, but I don't find you funny.
My mate Frank, actually, I was sitting there in the cinema and my phone went ding. Well, no, it didn't. So I was having it silent, and I just saw that, and he actually screenshotted it and he cropped it perfectly. And it was a nice job as well. And he sent it to me. And it was that guy saying, "Oh, so much better without the other guy trying to be funny all the time." I.e. me.
I felt so bad because we were just signing off, and I just saw the big comment come. I didn't even read. I said, "I'll get one last one in before we sign off." And I was halfway through, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, I know where this is going, but I have to finish it now. I have to finish it now."
Well, there you go. Oh, he popped. I mean, my mate Frank loved. He absolutely, like, he told me, he's like, that has made my morning. I laughed. It's funny. It is funny. But anyway, there you go.
You're crying inside, David. You're crying inside.
Not crying, screaming inside.
Yeah. Is that why you're surrounded by darkness tonight?
Yeah, that's why I'm all black, full Bond villain. Anyway, I don't hold a grudge. Not publicly, anyway. Right, we're going to move on, lads. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into our boys in green. I haven't done the graphics, so there we go. Perfect. Nick, over to you. Get those dulcet tones. Sing us a song, babes.
Oh, yes. Cannot wait. In what language, lads? In Swahili or Portuguese or Oscuelga?
No, right. Martin wouldn't understand that.
No, that's true. We need to differentiate here, don't we? Right, lads. So we're actually going to go through some midweek action as well because there was quite a bit of Irish involvement. I think it's only fair because there wasn't much actually report on over the weekend. So the midweek FA Cup matches. So as we know, Androm Obamidele made his Premier League debut yesterday for Nottingham Forest, but he made his actual debut midweek in the FA Cup. So he scored a goal on his debut for Nottingham Forest. They beat Blackpool 3-2, and Adam Ida scoring from the penalty spot as Norwich City ran out 3-1 winners over Bristol Rovers. Nathan Collins scoring a goal for Brentford against his former club Wolves. They went down 3-2. And in the same game, lads, Nathan Fraser, young Irishman, I think he's 18 years of age. I might need to double check that, but 18 years of age, centre forward for Wolves. He scored in that win over Brentford. So we're very, very hopeful for him. We were on to Adam. Well, I was on to Adam Thompson midweek, just, I suppose, trying to get the inside scoop on him. Great guy, Adam. So he's obviously attached to Wolves and Ireland, kind of in the media department, and he has very high hopes for Nathan. And Alan's usually very, very good on his Wolves players. Chidozie Ogbeni scoring a goal for Luton Town. They beat Bolton Wanderers 2-1. And James Furlong, of course, formerly of Brighton, he's now playing his football with Hull City. He got a run out and got an assist as they went down 2-1 to Birmingham City. And then over the weekend, I think the most important one, and congratulations, Martin, cousin Will. So Will Smallbone scoring a goal for Southampton. They beat Swansea City 3-1. Sinclair Armstrong, a goal for QPR in their 2-0 win over Millwall. Will Keane, another goal, this time for against Leeds United. Preston North End going down 2-1 to Leeds United. Robbie Brady making a comeback from injury in that game as well. And only a couple of hours ago, hot off the press, Rocco Vada scoring his first ever first-team goal, assisted by Mikey Johnson. A brilliant assist. They beat Bucky Thistle 5-0, who were quite clearly on the bookie.
Yeah, buckled there. And of course, you mentioned Amabamidele making his debut. That was down to an injury that was suffered by Murillo. I believe that's his name, Murillo. He had a hamstring problem, so he got his go. Finally made his debut during the week. Do you think he's done enough now to impress? Obviously involved in it, and it's never good to playing in defence that's going to concede 3 goals.
Well, I think on it, and I was only thinking of this. I mean, I watched Ivan Toney yesterday for Brentford, and he was excellent.
Bastard.
I'm a big Ivan Toney fan.
Cheat.
I'm not for cheating, but I'm a big Ivan Toney fan. And I mean, with Andrew Bamidele, sorry, the reason I'm bringing up Ivan Toney is it looked like he'd never been away for 8 months. And now Andrew hasn't been gone that long, but I mean he's looked great over the last couple of games. I mean he wasn't really a fault for any of the goals yesterday, and I think for a young lad to come back in and look fairly fresh into get now I didn't catch the game midweek, but I did hear he did quite well. So that's always a telling sign, and I think he's come in and grabbed the opportunity. They have a massive squad, and I really do question the move. But it's these kind of opportunities when injuries pop up that you grab them and you get a bit of momentum. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. He's a great player.
He is. I mean, he is a real classy centre back, and he's playing like very, very skillful, very comfortable on the ball. Hopefully his progression will continue there. But of course, Nottingham Forest have their own problems, don't they? They like Everton, who suffered a 10-point deduction over financial fair play rules. They're going to have their own problems, aren't they? Apparently, they have fallen foul. I think they were allowed to make £16 million worth of losses because they had one in the Premier League, 2 in the Championship, and they fallen foul of that. So they're probably going to get hit with with a points deduction as well. So all sorts of problems there. But I think I heard one of the comments about Bamidele, obviously not. Martin, I'm not sure if you heard this about him not making his game, not playing for Nottingham Forest. They're just a barmy club.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. And I think, it's fantastic to see him. Anytime I've met him or seen him play for Ireland, he's impressed. He's quite a grounded lad, I think. He got his move. I kind of questioned it at the time, but
13 million, was it?
He's always been called into the Ireland squad. So Stephen Kenny obviously liked him, even when he wasn't perhaps 100% fit and things. And I remember the game he couldn't travel away as well at that time after I think making his debut, I think it might have been. But he got those good moves, and it's kind of gone a little bit wrong. But he's so young, and I think he was one for the future with Forest. And the change of manager for there is going to be a good thing for him. And even if they do get financial or point penalties on this, and it brings a trouble to the club in a sense, the fact that he's playing now for them and standing out, he'll be the first one that when they
might actually suit him
when they come. But when they come calling as well, like if they've got to get money in, for example, someone could get him on a quite attractive kind of fee and won't do him any harm either. I'm sure he'll move in again, but. It's an opportunity for him, and I'm glad he's got into the team now. And I think we're going to see the player that he is. And for Ireland as well, you've got to remember Shane Duffy. Look, we've said it before, and he's kind of finishing up now. Really, Egan's had injury problems. It's prime, and Collins has had challenges as well. So it's prime now for him to come in there, perhaps, and kind of cement himself into the Ireland role.
I think, lads, like we look at Jake O'Brien going to Leon. I mean, he had a couple of loan spells away from Crystal Palace, and he went off to Leon. So I would not rule out, lads. AC Milan have been looking at Bamidele for a long time, and if it's a thing that he ends up back in the reserves or not making matchday squads, I wouldn't be surprised if AC Milan come in with an offer. Now, whether he plays there or not is another question. But if you look at how well O'Brien's done, as I said, he'd been loaned out for Crystal Palace, but wasn't getting near the first team, and he's done very well. So watch his space, I think.
Yeah, lots of options coming up there. What do you guys think at home watching? Do you rate Bamidele? Did you watch him? What do you think? Let us know. Tell us. That's what we're about. Give us some comments, and we'll get to those. It has come out in the Irish Examiner. John Fallon, friend of the podcast, good man, John. Actually, I do like John Fallon. Very, very nice. Shut up, Martin. Because you don't have any friends. Because you're not a journalist like me. I actually have a mug that says I'm a journalist. So I actually do. Just for the record, this was actually.
We can't see that. I don't know what that is. Have you stolen that?
Trust me, I'm not.
Don't let Dan McDonald see that.
He might disagree.
Might.
Putting quite mildly. Actually, no, it was bought for me by a former friend, shall we say. Not a friend of the podcast, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I digress. John Fallon has written in the Irish Examiner, Lee Carsley favourite for Ireland job as FAI overlook Chris Hughton. I'll just read a little bit from the article here. Basically, from an initial field of 15 candidates in the summer, that's been whittled down to a final shortlist and doesn't feature Chris Hughton. What was recently thought to be a two-horse race between Carsley and fellow former Ireland international Hughton has perished after the Ghana bosses overlooked in the final shake-up. Apparently, Anthony Barry not going to happen because Bayern Munich. I think they paid a 7-figure fee to Chelsea to release him. Thomas Tuchel thinks highly. That ain't going to happen. We basically feel that we're going to have one in 2 weeks, don't they? They basically want a manager in situ, a full-time manager in situ in Paris. Is it Paris? Is it where the draw is for the Nations League? And they want him in situ right there. So it is going to be not a matter of if, it's going to be when, and apparently it's going to be very, very soon. What do you think there, lads? I mean, Chris Hughton, you were watching the AFCON, Nick. Lost the first game. Chris Hughton, he got attacked. Second game, drew 2-2 with Egypt. Mo Salah got taken off, but thankfully today don't look like they missing too much. Liverpool, just saying. Yeah, so, I mean, it looks like it's going to be Lee Carsley all of a sudden. I would have almost bet the house if I had one on Chris Hughton getting it.
Yeah, I think we've kind of spoken about this a good bit. Like, I mean, Hughton will be the experienced head. We spoke about Kevin Doyle's comments that he is a coach that continues to evolve despite his age. He's not as rigid as people think. Like, I mean, I watched the 2 Ghana games. The first one was pretty poor, but I mean, that Cape Verde team is who I probably qualify for as well, by the way. They look pretty good. I watched them in the other night, and they against the Ivory Coast, and they knocked the ball around very nicely. I question some of the individuals in that squad, but again, Hughton selects them. I mean, they have Kudos, who's with West Ham having a great season. He was fantastic for them. So, you kind of wonder how reliant he is on individuals. The style of football, as I said, it's very hard to judge. It's a different collection of players. You can't necessarily replicate that with us. But no, I don't know. I don't think he would have done a bad job if he came in, but it does look like he's out of the running.
What do you think that is?
Why do I think he's out of the running?
Yeah.
I don't know. It possibly is something to do with his contract with Ghana. I mean, I know he's not very popular there, but were they looking for compensation? When's his contract up with Ghana? Is it at the end of AFCON?
It will be, yeah.
And
I don't think it's about the money with him. I've said that before, but I think he can get out of that if he wants. African football's mental, isn't it? So
it could be a financial thing. Like I'd say, as on paper, well, CV wise, you'd imagine Hughton would command a bigger fee than Lee Carsley. Lee Carsley's never really managed a senior level apart from caretaker jobs, so that surely drives the wage up. And I know he's got a European Championship at underage level, but I don't think he'd command as big a fee as Hughton. So that might be part of it. I don't really know. Maybe they're kind of saying, well, Hughton doesn't fit the age profile for long term. Is it a risk because he hasn't had so much success in the last few years? So I think it's more down to that. I don't really know. I think if he came in with the right coaching ticket, for example, like you say, if you look at Andy Reid and Stephen Reid at Nottingham Forest doing a decent job, if you brought the two of them lads in or someone of that ilk, you'd imagine he'd give a good crack at it. But I think the FAI, any little leaks or any little clues that have come out from the mainstream media in recent months will kind of lead to Lee Carsley.
I mean, excuse me, maybe it's just that they don't think he's that good anymore. Not wishing to sound horrible about Chris Hughton, but you hear a lot of these tropes handed about, bandied about. Used to say, pair of hands. He knows that club inside out. He's a former international. He has to be. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything, really. I mean, this was a guy that, yes, I think Kevin Doyle came out and said it, didn't he? That he's a progressive manager. Is he? Not really, and he's always learning. And
I think there has been adaptations, but I mean, any club he's left, they've seen to kind of improve. Usually, like if you look at Brighton, there's an argument that he left the foundations there for them to improve as they did. Now he got them promoted, so that's massive. But if you look at Nottingham Forest, I mean, they were nearly relegated to League One, weren't they? And then Steve Cooper came in, who, by the way, is free and has international experience with England underage.
We ain't gonna get him.
Yeah, they won't get him. But look, he came in. He came in, and the upward trajectory was completely different. And then he's left clubs in places where they've plummeted, like Norwich went down, and they went back up, and Birmingham City have kind of gone off the grid. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, if he was appointed, I wouldn't be disappointed, but I think the big thing is getting the best out of this group of players, the style of football. That's going to be the biggest challenge for this manager, is maximizing this group, utilizing this group correctly.
Do you not think though that that they probably feel with his not his character. Chris Hughton is a gentleman, right? This is not a personal attack, and Chris Hughton is a lovely, lovely man. But they probably think that somebody who is cautious, this is a very young, vibrant team.
Yeah.
And they probably think that innovation is the way for me anyway. Lee Carsley, innovative coach. He's 51. He's younger. I think Chris Hughton 64, 65. And you probably feel that old head, that old cautious head on Chris Hughton's shoulders might inhibit that innovation, that young team.
Well, I think, and I said this, I was talking about this with Martin only a couple of weeks ago, but I think Hughton, there's a rigidness and a structure there, where they're very compact teams, they're very well organized teams, but his teams do knock the ball around. And that's even evidential with Ghana. I mean, I think that Ghana team is a bit of a basket case, but for the most part, they do knock the ball around. And I think Stephen Kenny got the lads passing, which, was nothing revolutionary, but he got them passing, and the players showed they're capable of passing. So I think Hughton would have brought the organization along with the eagerness to pass. With Carsley, if you look at him with the under-21s with England, it's a very, very slow. It's very wouldn't be as compact as Hughton's teams, but it's a very slow build up, very patient kind of game. They play with a 4-4-2. The players that he selects don't necessarily start in their positions. He starts where he feels that they'll fit in. Like, for example, he was playing James Garner, who's the central midfielder at right fullback, because he wanted him inverted to play make from inside. Where if you look at, say, Seamus Coleman, he wouldn't be able to do that same role. So he's innovative so far that he's more about the system and he's more about the style of play rather than playing players in their position. And that would worry me a little bit.
But we have
that worried me a little bit. Yeah, because we had that a bit with Kenny. Now, I don't think Kenny had as good an eye for it or had as good a structure or a purpose about it. But that's the one thing that will worry me about Carsley. Like, I don't know if our players are as adaptable. And I think a lot of our players would actually benefit from playing in a consistent position. Where Hughton, I could imagine him picking players in their correct position, having very balanced teams. Would the football be absolutely beautiful and revolutionary? I don't think it would, but I think it would be attractive to an extent, and it would also be very organized. So it would almost be a hybrid of what we've seen over the last 2 decades. Along with what Stephen Kenny has probably built in the last couple of years.
I think as well, with an international setup, it's very difficult to, if you're somebody who wants to sort of, i.e. Martin O'Neill putting Cyrus Christie in the centre midfield an hour before kickoff, you can't really do that with international football, especially when you don't have tip-top players, like Jack did back in the 80s, where Ronnie Whelan, you're going to play as a fullback because he was world class. He could do that. We don't really have that style we don't have that.
Well, that's what Carsley has at 21 level. Like he has lads who are that good that they can adapt and they can play anywhere.
But I do think though, maybe with modern day football, it's all about coaching and coaching those players in those positions into systems. So it's not ideal when you have players for a week max to, you're going to play this position that you never played before. It doesn't really work. And I think we saw that with Kenny. It doesn't work unless you have absolutely high international players. And you're right about Carsley. But you'd like to think, though, that Lee Carsley would have the intelligence and the wherewithal to actually, because Stephen Kenny didn't have the wherewithal, square pegs going to square holes. It works, and you'll have a better chance of playing. One of the comments there I've just seen is about Neil Lennon. So Neil Lennon's the bookies' favourite. Is that right? He's still the bookies' favourite, isn't he?
He is, yeah. As of last night, anyway. I haven't checked it today, but as of last night, it was. Look, that yourself, Dave. I mean, you've worked in that industry. It's people putting the bets on, essentially. Like Lee Carsley's odds have slashed over the last couple of days, and he gone way down. I think he gone from favourite to 5th favourite or something. I mean, Chris Coleman was favourite for the guts of 3 weeks.
Well, here we go. Yeah. Lee Carsley. This is PandyPower.com, my former employers. Lee Carsley 11-10, Neil Lennon 3-1, Chris Hughton 7-1, Allardyce 7-1, Chris Coleman 17-2, and Anthony Barry out at 9-1.
Right,
I think
so Carsley's favourite then. And
I think now, because we're 2 weeks out, I think that is because we were talking about it, Martin and I weren't we? We were talking about that's not really, some of us put £100 on that. All of a sudden the market's gone mental. But now we're 2 weeks out. I think we're getting more accurate.
Yeah, I think their articles and media coverage of this is going to dictate favoritism of the bookies and movements. And I think, I know we're going to come on and cover Agent Kilban. But look, my thoughts on this, just generally, I've been listening away to you there, and it's interesting. I don't really want Neil Lennon near it, to be honest. I think Chris Hughton will show. I think Chris Hughton will be appointed only if they can't get Carsley. I think it will be the ambition of Ireland and Mark Canham in particular. Like that Kilban article, I think is fantastic. It's brilliant. It actually
Agent
talks about
Kilban.
Agent Kilban and best mates of Carsley. Let's not forget that. You got to think, and he's talking him up as well, and he's saying, this is what they need, and he's mentioned, like we have, Evan Ferguson. Stephen Kenny didn't build anything around him. There is potential in that squad. Mention the March fixture against the French, and the good performance there where we nearly scraped a draw, of course. But it is an attractive job, and Chris Hughton, I think, will just get it if they can't get Carsley. I think they'll just go with him because they will probably go and try and attract Carsley in 2 years or 4 years' time, maybe when he's maybe had a go at other management somewhere or seen what happens with England, because he is in that pathway at the moment. You've got to remember that Mark Canham at the FAI is through the English system as well. I think if they can push to get Carsley, and it might just be contractual, it might be about money, it might be, I think Lee Carsley would be nuts though not to be pushing for as much money out of this move as now. It's a big thing for him as well to move from England under 21. It's quite a safe job. He's done very well, had success. Does he know where he is within the English pathway? This is a big thing for him to come in and do this. It's a risky one in a way for his career, coming in, take the Ireland job and perhaps failing. And it might not be because of him. It might be because of the players and the ability and all that kind of stuff as well. And we are banking on the FAI behind the scenes, Mark Canham making these decisions with Jonathan Hill, that's the structure they want to go. They want to make it consistent from under 15s all the way through. Kevin Kilban mentions that in his article as well. I think it's a little bit of a test of water, maybe, that, look, Lee Carsley's interested in this, and, you've got to push and get him and perhaps have a go. And if you haven't got it over the line yet or announced, get it across now, because the backup then is Chris Hughton for me.
Yeah, I think, they want him in situ, whoever that will be for the Nations League draw. That will be on the 8th of February this year, of course.
It's 3 weeks away. Yeah.
It's 3 weeks away. It's
just one thing though. It's very underwhelming, isn't it, Dave? If I think if Chris Hughton got it, I'd be going, okay, right, I know what they're doing, right? But it would be a little bit underwhelming. I'd be thinking they couldn't get Carsley, whereas I think if you announce Carsley, that's exciting.
It's innovation.
The guy's won stuff underage. We've got a young group. He's he knows the kind of championship in a way, because he was operating around that level in a sense, career-wise, and I think he'll bring in good people with him.
I don't want a journeyman. I don't want a journeyman manager, and I'm sorry to say, Chris Hughton. Yeah. Chris Hughton is a journeyman manager. He's failing in his current job with Ghana. I'm sorry, he is. He was bombed out at Nottingham Forest. Better not call it Notts Forest, because we shot for saying that. Nottingham Forest. He was terrible with that. Brighton sort of, he hit a wall there, although some would say harsh. However, look at them now. I don't really want him involved with. If he gets it, I know that you're a bit more favorable towards him. If he gets it, I'll be like, okay, look, I'll get behind the manager, and then we'll see what happens. But I want innovation. I want someone that's going to excite me a little bit, and I think Lee Carsley would. It's a risk. Kenny was a risk, and we know what happened there. However, I don't think, and I think we've all said it here, the plan was sound. The execution was poor, and Stephen Kenny, unfortunately, showed signs of it, that maybe he was up the man for it. It turns out he wasn't. And I think Lee Carsley will be a much improved version of Stephen Kenny. We'll have better qualifications. We'll have the wherewithal. And obviously, having dealt with an elite system through Man City and through England, it is a risk. Yes, of course it's a risk, but I think it's a good risk. And I want Lee Carsley. I think that would excite me. It could go wrong again, and we could be here in 2 years' time. Chris Hughton, please come back in.
I know I mentioned it a lot. It's Kevin Kilban's last words in this article. If the FAI seek a 4-year arrangement, someone to run a long-term project, all roads lead back to Carsley. This is the key line for me. Hopefully, a deal can be struck. That means, for me, they're in negotiations with him. They're playing a bit hardball with the money, and that's what they've got to show their ambition now. And Lee Carsley, I think, as well, would bring in the support of kind of his former teammates around the World Cup 2002, right? Some of them would, I think, be positive about it. Kilban, especially, is a big voice in Irish football.
He'd be respected.
Everyone loves Kilban, and you kind of do listen to him. He's been off the ball over the years and things like that. Ironically, I think Kevin Kilban is saying, and he has experience of this. He's saying to the FAI, "Get your skates on." Do you like that? Do you like that one? You get that link?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
There you go. Thank you.
He lives in Canada now, doesn't he? Christ. Bob Monkhouse over there. Yeah, I mean, no, 100%. And actually, just quickly, lads, before we wrap this bit up, but I think the FAI have actually, I think they've dealt with the manager situation really well. As if we're not getting little, you got a lot of, I'm sure some journalists are basically, they're not admitting what they really know. And they're probably told things in confidence. I get that. I've been there. But we're not getting leaks. Not really. I know the whole John Fallon thing there, but
there used to be a little bit of transparency. I remember when Steve Staunton was sacked and Roy Hodgson had come out fairly soon after saying he'd been interviewed. Because it's when they had the committee, wasn't it? Ray Houghton, Don Howe, and Don Givens, I think.
Yeah.
And but a few managers had come out and said that they'd been interviewed. I think Brian Robson had been spoken to when Brian Kerr was sacked, or when Mick McCarthy was sacked. So,
should we have transparency really, or should they just be allowed to crack on with it and get on with it? Because beforehand, you'd had this guy's going to get it. I mean, if you look at the Charlton,
I think,
and Mick.
I think they've been speaking to people even before Stephen Kenny left, and I'd say,
of course,
that and someone is always going to know. Someone is always going to tell someone who will tell someone else, and who will tell someone else, and then it becomes a rumor down the pub or a rumor through the mainstream media. Like I would say, Chris Coleman was spoken to, and they probably didn't fancy him. I reckon Lee Carsley has been spoken to a few times over the last few years. There was talk a few years ago, lads, that Lee Carsley was meant to come in to replace Damien Duff as assistant, and he turned it down. I must dig that article out because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he was approached by the FAI to replace Duff before Anthony Barry came in. So there has been dialogue there in the past. Sam Allardyce, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't conversations there, but I'd say they probably looked at him, the profile of who he is, and kind of thinking, no, this isn't the direction. The direction they want is someone contemporary, someone progressive, and Lee Carsley fits the profile. So they've definitely had conversations in the eventuality that Carsley doesn't take it, but I know that that's who they want. I'd say they've had conversations with Neil Lennon. There's the link with Paddy Bonner, but again, does he fit the profile? Is he what they want? So I think they're having, I'd say the dialogue with Carsley has been ongoing for a long time, and I say the rest has been conversations. Possibly, but I say the rest has been conversations with the likes. I honestly would say Coleman's been spoken to, and they probably had conversations about who's next in line. And I'd say they've ruled so many out as well.
100%. I mean, you've got to do it. Just in case, you go after your main guy, but you have your backups as well. And look, people know that. Not someone like Chris Coleman would not turn his nose up at a job, because I think it's a very good job. It's an attractive job. Anyway, we're gonna move it on. What do you think at home? We've got a few comments coming in there. We're going to get to social media in a second. Are you happy the way the FAI have gone about it? Are you happy that Carsley looks like the man to take it? Or do you want Chris Hughton? Are you in my camp where you think, you want something a bit more innovative, a bit of a risk, a nice risk? Or do you want the safe pair of hands, whatever that means? Let us know in the comments there. We will get to those very shortly. We've got about 10 minutes or so left before we're going to shoot off. Right, lads, we're going to get onto the social media watch here. And do I have my nice little graphic? Yes, I do. And I still haven't changed the thing. I just want to apologize, actually. Yeah, basically, my laptop broke during the week, so I haven't had it. So I've literally only got it back the last day or so. So I do apologize, and that's why we haven't been as active. We're all going to change that, though, this week, I hope. Let's have another bloody break. Social media watch, of course, on the 19th of January. We are recording this on the 21st of January, 2 days ago. It was Mr. Steve Staunton's birthday. There he is. Look at him there, sure, in his Italian 90 shirt in Genoa. And yeah, Martin, this is your suggestion because, that's what we're going to talk about, unless something major happens. You wanted to talk about him, didn't you? You wanted us to remember Stan the player, but not the manager, because the manager was terrible.
Yeah, I think it's just important to remember that he was a fantastic player and servant for Ireland, and played in every tournament for us. Well, the World Cups anyway.
Yep, every game.
And people put up the other day on his birthday, even that iconic Aston Villa goal where it pings the top right hand corner against Man United. Amazing strike, but fantastic player, like, ultimately. And I think, just sadly, the kind of legacy with Ireland is, the kind of the managerial record gets mentioned, and the kind of the horrible time really in the media coverage of Ireland, Stan the Muppet, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's just important. It's his birthday the other day, and I thought it's nice to be nice, and that's a mantra I kind of follow. And I just think it's nice to remember him as a good lad. Really, he was a good player for Ireland and never let us down. So,
well, when he wasn't
great
playing,
moments.
When he wasn't playing centre back, he didn't let us down. But anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. But that just shows you what a fantastic footballer he was, because he was so adaptable that he can go in there. And all right, he might not. That was at the end though, but that just showed, I think, his understanding of the game, that he was trusted in that position. And like you just said earlier, actually, part of Jack's kind of, he had a squad of players who were so good that
he was a left winger for us.
He can put them in different positions, and they would still be.
Yeah,
8 out of 10, basically. You're going to get consistency, and that it's interesting, actually. Even the fact that, Nick, you're saying about the players and how Carsey approaches things tactically. We don't seem to have that with Ireland players now, as yet. Even Kilban, ironically, he's been in discussion this evening, a name we've mentioned. Played in midfield, didn't he, with Carsley? Understand? So
played everywhere, Stan.
Yeah, and but like. Kilban is another one who was just so adaptable as a player and always turned up for Ireland, and that's something I think we have to remember with Staunton as well. And
yeah, I mean,
it was the wrong decision for him. Well, I know we've chatted about this before, and we'll obviously cover it again in future episodes. But Stan to ever get the job and be put in that position was a mistake of the FA.
I think if Sir Bobby was very ill when he very soon into that tenure. And I think if Sir Bobby had maybe a deeper involvement there, look, I don't think Stan would have been successful, but I think some of the results might have been a little bit better. I don't really know. Like, I don't think Stan had the experience nor the coaching know-how to take that job. And I think he was probably still one of the lads going back. I think because he played with so many of those players, it's a very, very different environment. He brought in Kevin MacDonald, didn't he? Someone he trusted and didn't really turn up, as a coach. And it's a shame, really. It's always going to be a shame looking back on that. It was the wrong appointment. I think it was John Delaney keeping himself in the golden circle of Irish football to an extent as well.
Yeah,
and I always feel for him, because Sir Bobby was brought in to, I suppose, combat that concern that he was so inexperienced, and unfortunately he wasn't around. He wasn't around to have that deep involvement. So it's always sad looking back at that. I love Stan as a player. Like, I loved him as a player, and I kind of got the latter stage of his career. But it's sad. It's sad the way it tainted him. I've met him a couple of times. He's a lovely guy as well. Lovely guy.
I know you say sad, but I mean, like, you have to remember though, lads. His application to the job, his attitude in the job, and his behavior in the job was really poor. It was,
but that's all down to inexperience as well. Like, because I mean, as a manager, you're not just picking teams and setting out the tactics. You're also trying to manage yourself in front of the media.
Yeah, but it's not just that. But I mean, the way you went out with the players and the way that I think when we covered this a while ago, it is in the archives, by the way, the Steve Staunton era. It was like the parents going away for the weekend and leaving a teenager in charge. He wanted to be one of the lads, and he was acting like that. Now, that's a Stan. That's not FAI. That's nothing to do with Bobby Robson. You're right. Bobby Robson was very ill. That was a Stan move. So, and you got to understand that you're in charge of your country. You're the manager of your country. You should have acted like it. And he should have acted like it. And he should have. And a lot of people are annoyed over that, over the way he acted, because they spent a fortune going to Cyprus. They spent a fortune going to San Marino. It costs money to travel with the Irish football team. You have this guy acting like that. And I think that's what annoys me. And we went through, and it's in the archives, and we went through how he got the job. and his mates that helped him get the job, and that's what angered me about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was unfortunate with obviously Bobby Robson, but he did not help himself. The game in Germany, even the way he acted on the touchline, he just didn't. I don't want to. Eamon Dunphy says he doesn't look like a manager, didn't act like him. He didn't act like a manager.
He was so young. Like the way to look at it is he's the same age that Shane Long is now when he got the job.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Kenny Dalglish when he took over Liverpool.
Different era, though, different generation.
Yeah, but he acted like a manager.
Mm.
He acted like Steve Staunton never acted like a manager. He never felt like an Iron Man. For example, when Mick McCarthy came back in 2019, it was like, God, where have you been? God, it just felt right. With Stan, it never felt right.
It was the authority. Like Mick had the authority. Like, you even think of the Stephen Ireland situation. That situation was under Stan, and it was all handled really poorly and just immaturely. I think it's a good word, and just inexperience. You think back to Stuttgart, going back there was quite exciting going back there because. I was thinking, well, going to Stuttgart because that's where
he's making faces behind Ray Houghton's back.
And then he's kicking a water bottle when we conceded,
because he wants to show passion. Because Brian Kerr was said to be not passionate, which was utter nonsense. Look, Steve Staunton as a player, when he was a left back for Liverpool, he was good. He was just, I think, a bit unlucky, and he had a fallout with Kenny Dalglish. He was brilliant for Villa. As a left winger for Liverpool, for Ireland, because we had Phelan and we had Irwin playing right back. He was brilliant, and when he became a centre back towards the end, he was very error-ridden. But he stood up, he captained the team, and he helped galvanise that team. When the whole thing happened to Saipan. So all respect in the world for him as a player, but let's call it as is as a manager. I do think it is time, which is kind of ironic, as I said, is to let it go. Inside joke. But no, it is time to sort of let go of that. And I do try to, remember to stand the player, not the manager, because stand the manager was an absolute disaster. And there's a comment there, Darren, I'll get to that in a second. I will answer that. I've seen it there. We will get to those in a minute. But yeah, it is unfortunate when you share pictures of God, the gaffer and all that, but that's what you're going to get, unfortunately. Oh, is it hot in here? Felt like I've gone on a rant there a little bit.
No. To be fair though, you're right. He has been frozen out of Irish football in a sense.
Yeah, well, he was skating on thin ice now. To be fair, right? Yeah. Let's stop this, Jesus. I didn't watch it myself, but obviously the legend Paul McGrath was on the Late Late Show. Did you lads watch that? Did you, with Patrick Kilty on RTE?
No, I didn't catch it. No,
I
don't watch RTE.
No. I didn't watch it, no, but I mean, I had loads of people messaging me going, "Oh, you're watching Paul McGrath on it," and look, as RTE, the Late Late Show, that you can play RTE Late Late Show bingo. Basically, it's a new presenter now, new kind of series or season they do, or whatever way they do it. But they have a set number of guests who are on every year, and Paul McGrath has become one of them now. And you get the same thing. I mean, it was probably refreshing, actually. Yeah. I was never a fan of Tubridy because he didn't have a clue about sport. And he never really, I had a big issue with Tubridy on whenever he chatted to jockeys. It was just ridiculous. But Paul McGrath is actually above, everyone knows Paul McGrath in Ireland, not even necessarily have to be a football fan. So you can chat about everything else associated with him and his charity work.
But it was just going to be old ground.
It was Jack. It was, Jack looked after me in a drink, and thank you, you all love me and stuff. It's what we've heard all the time. So, but it's nice to see him doing well, and he's just a legend. And I know for the audio, this is there you just put up the quick still there of him.
Yep, it's going to put it up here now.
Meeting the audience and having photos with him. And anytime I've met Paul McGrath, he's just like that. He's just grounded and decent, a very humble lad, and we have to look after him. And
haven't had the pleasure.
Good. I like just to see him looking well and speaking well and not having kind of the struggles on the show.
Haven't had the pleasure to meet of meeting him yet. I really would love to meet him, but yeah, I've always heard lovely fella. He has his demons, as we all do, but it's good to see him well. Fantastic. There's a picture of them there. Massive queue in the Donnybrook studios there. RTE there, everyone wanting a picture with Paul McGrath, and why not? Because a legend, absolute legend of a player, and a pretty, from what I've heard, a pretty decent guy to boot as well. Yeah. Right, lads, we're going to move on to the comments, and then we're going to wrap this up. Jason Kennedy, he comments, "Nice gilet." Well, thank you very much, Jason. Now I'll be seeing you in March. I hope. My good friend Jason Kennedy, a big fan of the show. Actually, he does watch us on his TV. Nuri Noik, all three of you on the same live show. A rarity. It is a rarity these days. Unfortunately, real life does get in the way. Neil Conlon, they should bring Roy Keane in as manager. Martin, is that you? Martin would love that, wouldn't you? I tell you what.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't love it.
No, I don't think any of us would, but I tell you what, you wouldn't be bored. He was over in Green Bay, was he? Watching the Green Bay Packers game, I think. Martin,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, he's watching the 49ers, yeah.
Yeah, did your tracker not pick him up, Martin? No? Your Roy tracker?
No, I didn't know.
I
do. Look, I like some of the clips of the overlap and stuff with him, and he's quite good. I thought the little clip was quite funny during the week with him kind of saying to Gary Neville, "You're working too hard, Gary.
You're working too hard, Gary. I tell you to slow down. Yeah. Slow down."
Brilliant. It is.
Look at the gleam in Martin's eye.
I do love that. No, I just think he's so funny. And then I like it with the Ian Wright stuff.
Looking enamored.
Well.
He's like, oh, the way
I like it.
I like Roy. Slow down, Martin. Slow down. He absolutely love. Look at him. He's going.
Gift grub must be shitting himself, is he?
Rubber dub. More like it. No, I did laugh at that. Fucking hell. I'd say you'd love him to say that to you, Martin, wouldn't you? That'd be like your crowning moment, as on this earth. Roy Keane telling you to slow down. No. Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, look at you. Well, if you're not watching it, Martin absolutely has gone as red as my hair.
No, I haven't.
Yes,
I've had the interaction with Roy, which is lots of different times, and
you'd take a bullet for Roy, wouldn't you, Martin?
No, I wouldn't. But yeah, no. Look, he's just a.
He would.
No.
Slow down. Right, we'll move it on. Mark Fitzpatrick, Neil Lennon will get it, I fear. I don't think so. I think it will be Lee Carsley from what we're hearing. God, could you imagine Neil Lennon? Yet again, it would be box office. Jay on YouTube, Lee Carsley shifted the bookies' favourite today at 11 to 10. Yes, he did. Deck Finnegan, how you doing, Declan? As always, good win for the Oars.
And Sinclair Armstrong got a goal.
Yeah, fantastic.
Sorry about that, Nick, that you forgot that.
Did you forget that?
Don't think I did.
Did you not?
No, I'm pretty sure. 2-0 against Millwall.
Sorry.
Hold on.
No, I'm wrong.
We take people to account here. Sinclair Armstrong goal for QPR on a 2-0 win over Millwall.
Yeah.
Martin.
I think it
what
was.
Would Roy say?
No, I've had a little bit of a kind of moment there. Sorry.
Dare you question me?
Senior moment.
You see, Nick, I've got.
I like the.
It's a language barrier. That's all it is.
A really good
Tanzanian over there.
The celebration thing of him, actually. So I don't know if I put that in our little group, but it was really cool. Anyway, that's why.
Anyway, we'll move it on. Deck, I hope you're well. Nuri, again, I fear next manager will be Neil Lennon simply because he will be the cheapest option. I think no, I don't think they would do that. Even the FAI now, I think they know this is a very, very important one, and to go with someone like Neil Lennon, they would be slaughtered in the media. Slaughtered. Jay, even if Carsley flops from Ireland, he would get a championship offer afterwards. Yeah, probably would. Shane Brown, Facebook. The fact we're talking about the nuances of Hughton and Carsley is encouraging. A few weeks back, some of the names were terrifying. I actually think this is go around whoever is the number 2 will be critical. I think this go around whoever number 2 will be critical. Would love a Carsley and Stephen Reid ticket. I think, Nick, that's...
Yeah, Stephen Reid would be. Yeah, look, Stephen Reid has international experience with Scotland, so I think it's so key that we get someone who's used to working international windows, because it's a different science to it, I think. Brian Barry Murphy, he's managing within the Man City youth setup, would know Carsley through that. Could be another option. I mean, you kind of need a team of coaches, like Carsley has Ashley Cole with them at the moment with the England under 21s, so. It'd be interesting to see who comes in. If Hughton was to get the job, well, Hughton's out of the running, it seems, but like I wouldn't be too sure who come in. But yeah, Reid is a great shout simply because he does have international experience. He went to a Euros with Scotland, and he is very highly rated from what I hear.
Yep. Archduke 8199 on our YouTube channel. Celtic fan here. Don't want Lenny near the job. It has to be Carsley if we can get him. I think a lot of people are with you there, Archduke. Near again. Still no Sting jingle for podcast listeners. I'm sorry. My laptop was broken. I will have it fixed. I hope. Shane Brown. I'm happy the way the FAI have gone about it. If they announce Carsley, that will show a bit of confidence on their part. I feel any other candidate announcement will be a bit of a letdown. Yeah, I agree with you there, Shane. I think we've touched on it here. Obviously with Lansdowne Road, Lansdowne Roar, we're quite historical. We do a lot of research, and every management appointment, although the Mick McCarthy, Stephen Kenny one, the way we got there, how we got there was actually kind of okay, but obviously the appointment was strange. It always seems to be a little bit dramatic. They love a flair for the dramatic, and there's leaks, and there's this, and there's that. This just seems to be very boring and straightforward. And it's annoying for us because we probably would benefit a bit more as a podcast if we had a few more leaks and a bit more drama. But this seems to be just very straightforward. And I agree with you. If Carsley gets it, then yeah, what can you say? Job well done.
I just come in on that. Why I think it's been so kind of low key in a sense as well, just because the interest in Irish football wasn't there in Ireland, perhaps because we're at a very low ebb. I know we think it's exciting that a new Ireland manager's coming in, but if this was the England manager over in England, there'd be loads of talk, speculation, leaks, there'd be interviews, everyone would be talking about it all day on Sky Sports. Yeah. There's no coverage of it on Sky Sports. It shows where we are, and yeah, just not a lot of excitement around it. And that's why I think maybe the FAI are able to use that as a opportunity to kind of do this stuff under the radar and perhaps being a bit more kind of professional, dare I say it.
The appetite just isn't the same. I mean, the sphere in which we are in, and I mean, there's a lot of podcasts, and there's a lot of pages, and there's a lot of Irish football contributors, but it's it's not the only thing going on in the world. It's not the only thing going on in Ireland. And although for us and people who follow Irish football, it might seem like the only thing that's going on, but in the broader context of the world, there's bigger interest in other things. And the Premier League is just one example. So, I suppose even when Martin O'Neill was appointed, we still had a few players left from the 2002 World Cup, a few players who played at the very top level. And that's gone back 10 years ago. When Stam was sacked, when Trapattoni was coming in, when Brian Kerr was sacked, we had a golden generation, and people were really thinking, if we get this right, we're going to go to World Cups and European Championships. At the moment, the expectation is kind of, can we improve the football? Can we build something around Evan Ferguson? It's kind of smaller things. The expectation to get to tournaments is dwindling. I think we are well capable. And if you look at some of the teams that have gone to the European Championships this year, and if you look at say Albania, Macedonia, Hungary, countries like that, who either were non-existent in international football or who've gone off the radar of international football, you have to say, well, if you get an appointment right at international football, you can do very well. But that's what will recapture the imagination of Irish fans. But at the moment, it's really a smaller sphere than people think, unfortunately.
Yep. No, I mean, we live and breathe football, and there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. Darren O'Grady, cost no more to go to San Marino than it did to Paris for the last shit show. I agree with you there, Darren. I was there. It was very expensive, and I'm not sure if you're talking about the comparison between Stephen Kenny and Steve Staunton. I hear you on that one, but I do think actually I don't know if Stephen Kenny had Steve Staunton's job where it would have been a lot better. I don't know, to be honest with you, anymore. That one was a little bit soul destroying, but it still doesn't take away. Stan did not act appropriately at all or maturely. Anyway, we'll move it on. Reid McLaughlin, he was in San Fran. Thank you very much, Reid. I knew there was a bay there somewhere. San Francisco Bay. That's where Roy Keane was. J.O. on YouTube. We need a manager similar to Kenny who actually cares about the League of Ireland and the Under-21 team. I think Carsley is that man. 100% agree there, Jay. Carsley being an Under-21s manager himself. And I think it'll be one of the requisites. requisites of his appointment will be, as you said earlier on, Martin, and Mark kind of was talked about it, 4-3-3 at every level. So, they slot in perfectly. And I think, Carsley will absolutely understand the benefit. And the League of Ireland, of course, is cooking. They announced, what was it, an additional 14 games from Virgin Media. Very quickly on that one, Nick, because we're coming to the end of this one. There was an article, I think the FAI came out and said about the stadiums in the League of Ireland. You said they're not set, but paraphrasing here, but basically they're not sexy enough for TV.
Well, I think one of the arguments was the aesthetics and the camera angles and that kind of thing. I mean, a lot of that goes down to I've no background in production, but like the production quality is huge as well. I mean, if you look at camera angles in the Premier League and your motion graphics and your camera angles and the way that the cameras are positioned and that kind of thing, the infrastructure is probably there from within the TV companies. But like if you watch. Well,
it's a requirement from the Premier League to have your stadium able to basically facilitate X amount of cameras.
Yeah, I don't think any League of Ireland ground can facilitate that. Even the gantries are quite low, so you're not seeing as much of a pitch as you would in the Premier League. So like the aesthetics are huge, especially if you're trying to say, for example, if you look at Sky Sports and they would have gotten the MLS in and they would have gotten the A League in. Now, the A League is not as good as League of Ireland, and people will argue that, but it is not. It's a very poor league, but it's been marketed and it's been sold to a UK audience. So if the FAI wanted to do something similar, or if they wanted to sell, say, League of Ireland to the States or Australia, where there's a massive diaspora, you need to make it aesthetic and you need to make it marketable. At the moment, I mean, LOI TV was a mockery, it was a great facility, but the production quality it would be like us doing it, lads. Actually, I actually think we do a better job, but the aesthetically, no, it's very, very poor. And, the stadiums have to change. But again, the issues there are the funds and also the resistance within clubs to change the infrastructure. There is a degree of that as well. So it's that's something that's not going to be solved for 20, 30 years, unfortunately. But you can see it. You can see the production quality and the production difference. Like it's actually quite depressing to watch, I think.
Yeah, you look at Tallaght Stadium, that's more modern. Obviously, it's probably the most modern stadium, and a lot of it goes into it. It's the gantry height. It's making it available. It's having lifts. It's having parking. It's having the right amount of sockets and things like that. It's all about infrastructure. When you're going to plug in your satellite trucks, whatever. I worked football for years. And to see what goes into beaming a live game for television, not online, but for television, it's a lot goes into it. You're talking a lot of cables. You're talking a lot of people power. You're talking a lot of that. A lot goes into it. And there's a fair point. But I've said it for years on this, since we've been doing it, that the FAI, someone needs to get there and they need to sex it up. They need to make it look good on the camera, because, seeing a Mr. Chippy in the background, it doesn't look good. I'm not having a go.
But the thing is, it can look good. But I said that it's twofold. The infrastructure side of the stadiums is just it's an ongoing battle. And if you look at proposal, for example, Dalymount Park's initial proposal and the current proposal, if you look at the Brandywell, the initial proposal was a stand that was taking up the entire touchline. And that was scaled down to a much, much smaller stand. They did redo the pitch. They put a all weather down. But like that is the first big battle. You're up against councils, and lads, I'll put it this way: if a building developer wanted to build a nice, classy estate and have all the infrastructure in place in Ireland, that would be done no bother. Now, no one will be able to afford the house, and it will probably be owned by a UK company. But for the most part, the government will make it happen. Where when it comes to football stadiums, I suppose the passion isn't there from the government, the drive isn't there from the government. And as I said, even my own club, with Bows and Dalymount Park, I mean, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I'm trying to take it from a logical point of view. The initial plan was to share with Shells, but Shells fans didn't sit well with fans, and then Shells fans wanted to retain Tolka Park, which is in an absolute heap. So I remember Breen being on the show a couple of years ago, and he said, we're retaining so many League of Ireland stadiums because of that nostalgic feel and because fans have a connectedness to it. But then you're going to get to a point where you're playing homage to dead people, and if you look at Highbury, if you look at White Hart Lane, they're gone. And they're massive clubs. They're actually bigger clubs than Bohs and Shells. If you look at ground shares, AC Milan, I'm actually going to Milan next month. If you look at AC Milan, Inter Milan, and AC Milan have a much fiercer rivalry than Bohs and Shells do. It's not like Bohs and Rovers.
I think
they've ground shared for years and years. So there's a lot of there's millions of issues from the ground point of view, and then the production point of view. A lot of that is down to the television studios, their infrastructure, and what they have in place. Because at the moment it is very amateur looking, and it's quite depressing to watch, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, just for Talker Park, you have to remember the first ground in Ireland to have floodlights, even before Lansdowne Road. Just saying, historical. Yeah, Drums had floodlights for years. I could be wrong now. Correct me on the comments there. But yeah, that one will, I'm sure, go on for years. Evan, last couple of comments here, then we're going to wrap this up. Evan H says, opinions on Kevin Zeffy joining Roma. Nick, you probably know most about him.
Look, I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to know how he's developing. I don't know how well he kicked on at Inter Milan. Like, I mean, a lot of those Inter Milan players, like a very small percentage, will get into the first teams. A lot of them end up in the lower leagues of Italy, which is fine. He's a very, very tidy, lovely footballer. But progression wise, I don't really know, to be honest. Like I think we're very bad at overhyping lads. When a young lad goes to Inter Milan, having played as a 15-year-old for Shamrock Rovers, yeah, we're right to get excited. But there's nothing really to suggest that he is anywhere near a breakthrough. Now, look, if he ends up playing for Roma and for their first team in the next year, that'd be brilliant. And I really hope he does. But there's very little to suggest, and he's had injuries, so. Yeah, it's a difficult one. He's a lot of work to do, and hopefully he does do that work. And we're talking about him in a very positive light next year. Yeah,
absolutely. And the last comment of the week from Evan again on a YouTube channel. Connection Carsley has with dual nationals will be beneficial. The Lap, Kirkin, and Cannon come to mind. Well, lads, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for watching us at home. Please give us a cheeky subscribe if you haven't already. You can see down the bottom right hand corner of the screen, I raised that QR code from a pup. It's there. Use it. Put your phone over that, your camera, and our link tree will come up, and give us a follow. Go on. Head over to the YouTube channel. We're trying to grow that at the moment. We do have a load of stuff coming this year. If real life stops getting in the way, of course. We really want to grow the YouTube channel. So please, please, please follow us on YouTube, or I will find you.
And you will follow them.
Yeah, and I will actually show with a big placard with the QR code and actually get you to scan it, or just put a 3-letter box. Either way, I will find you. So please do, probably get sued over that now. Watch. Please do give us a cheeky subscribe down there. You can head over to greenmachinepodcast.com, Facebook page, 2 Facebook pages, Lansdowne Roar, Lansdowne Road. You can head over to Twitter or X, Lansdowne Road, Lansdowne Roar. It's all there for you guys. Or you can just go on the bloody subscribe thing, the QR code. Just put your phone over that, subscribe to us, give us a follow. Go on. And if you love us that much, tell your friends about it. I think we're the best kept secret on the internet. Well, I keep telling myself that anyway. Anyway, right, we're going to leave it there. We will be back next week. We'll hopefully have a couple of cheeky state of plays during the week if we have a little bit more on the Irish situation. Of course, the FAI looking to have a manager in situ by the 8th of February when we find out who we get in the Nations League. That will be in Paris. Pot 3, League B. I don't know. It's the 4th edition anyway. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, adios. Good night. And what's Tanzanian for goodbye?
Swahili. Geez, I don't know. I'll tell you now. Bear with me a second. So it is. Oh Jesus!
Oh Jesus! Is that it? Is it? Oh, sounds familiar.
It's similar, yeah, similar.
While I'm waiting for him to do that, I know you've done your goodbye and everything, but I just want to wish the under-16s are playing tomorrow. They've got 3 games actually. They're over in Turkey at the moment, and listeners and supporters of the pod, David Roach we had as is a physio for the Ireland under 16s, and Shane Elliott as well, part of that. So yeah, do catch up with them because they're an exciting young group of players.
And actually, don't forget Liam Brady interview. That is on our YouTube channel. If you want to see Martin talk to Liam Brady, a great interview. Liam Brady telling you some fantastic anecdotes and some great stories there. That was live from the Claddagh Ring in Hendon, North London. That was recorded on the 14th of December. And that is over on our YouTube channel. Right, Nick, before we go, give it to us, baby.
Quaheriol.
Quaheriol
to all of you. Yeah.
Quaheriol from Nick, Martin, and myself. Good night. God bless. And be safe in a storm because it's really bad out. All the best.